Hello, I'm O Speaks. If you're new here, please like, subscribe, share. What's going on, Kiss My Cheeks? What's going on, Miss Phoenix? Detroit's in the house. What's going on, Uncle L? That was a joke, Miss Phoenix. Um, she didn't seem to like the last short that I put up. It was a joke. It was all. I'm from Chicago. Many rivalries. All of our teams. So. Again, if you're new here, please like, subscribe, share. I put all my links. I put X link in there if you wanted to follow me in there. I put Rumble. If you're watching on Rumble, I put my YouTube link. And also, of course, if you would like to bless the channel, I put my Cash App on there as well. Today, I warned you guys last live that I was going to go over, I was going to touch on some topics on this live because I think this is an important topic and the family is the most important thing um, in civilization. And right now, it has been not right now. It has been under attack for a very long time. So the topic of today's topic of today's live is the war on women and children. The left continues to push anti-human agendas. So of course, if you're an anti-woman, you have to be anti-family because how does that work? You can't have a family without a woman, no matter what anyone tells you. If you're anti-man, you can't be pro-family because again, how does that work without that? If it's just you and the man and you're anti-children, well, then you are defeating the whole purpose for having a family. You're right now we are watching an absolute assault on that from every angle, and that's what I wanted to cover today. So again, I warned you guys there's going to be some trigger warnings here, but I'm going to start right off. Yeah, it was a joke. It was definitely a joke. Let's see. Let's put this up. So that's there. Um, and let's get going. Pull up my video. All right. What's going on? Stuff's all messed up again. Okay, here we go. There it is. Couldn't find it. Sorry.
There's been plenty of research talking about when people transition, how it doesn't really impact their effects in sports. This is a very tiny percent
No,
of the
no, it's complete
population.
bullshit. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Can I please
By
finish
the way,
this?
I'm not right-wing media
Nope.
in any shape
I'm
or
not
form.
saying you are.
I know, but I'm just telling you, I'm not, and I think it's bullshit. The idea that it's a small thing, it's not. You're seeing it more and more and more and more and more. There are millions of people, young people in America identifying as trans. This problem is going to get worse and worse and worse. And the issue is about women's rights to equality and to fairness and to safety. Nothing more than that. It's not about
the
trans.
amount of trans people
I want
in
the same,
sports
but
in the first
just to be
place
clear,
is
I want the same.
minuscule.
Hang on, Kat. I want the same for trans people, but not at the expense of women's rights. That's what it's about. And if you can't have a Democrat Party that stands up completely rock solid for women's rights because it's far too concerned with promoting a trans agenda where it erodes women's rights, you're never going to get re-elected as a party, ever.
Okay, this is the thing. Trans people's existence and even like the 40 people that are in sports is
So you see already diminishing it. So you can't be pro something and diminish it at the same time. Uh, the 40 people in sports, no. I mean, in the last Olympics alone, I believe they said that there were. Now this is from the college level into the World Championships into the actual Olympics. There were 600 women affected um, by trans people, especially when you have one that is like, especially in boxing, when you have two trans people fighting for the championship. Okay, where are the women in that? So literally every woman who had aspirations of becoming an Olympic gold medalist boxer was impacted by that. So she's dismissing it. It was only four people. It's a tiny issue. Okay, so then is it an important issue or not? Because you can't have both. What's going on, catcher? You really can't. And it's weird watching them play both sides of it. And they're good at the double talk. So I guess I kind of understand it. But to diminish it and prioritize it is very interesting. And then after they lose, all of a sudden we weren't talking about that. What are you people talking about?
isn't the big issue with women's rights. It isn't a women's rights issue.
But it
at
becomes
all. We need to
one
be-
when you
Can I please
support
finish?
obvious unfairness. That's the point.
Can I please finish?
Sure.
Thank you. The thing here is you have Republicans right now in the state at the federal level that are saying we need to check children's genitals to make sure they're the right ones before they play. That's a harm to children and women. The SAVE Act, which is going to stop millions of married women from being able to vote if they don't have their birth certificate and proof of their.
So, sorry. So she diminishes the whole trans thing by saying it's just a few, it's 40 people. Like, what do we, come on, this is not an issue. And then she makes the extreme argument on the other side, well, they're going to check children's genitals. Nobody said that. You know if your son is a boy or a girl. You know if your girl is a son or is a boy or a girl. Like, you don't have to play this game. I've never seen anybody say we need to check their genitals. No. She makes it extreme on this side, and the other side she diminishes it. It's not a big deal. What are you guys so worried about? And then she ties it in, of course, to women, is what they always do. Married women won't be able to vote. What does one have to do with the other?
To children and women. The SAVE Act, which is going to stop millions of married women from being able to vote if they don't have their birth certificate and proof of their name change, that's an actual harm to women. Trans people existing, and in like one state that did a law against trans kids being in sports, there was literally one trans child that was in any sport who was supported by their own team. This is
So then why promote it? If it's so minuscule and so unimportant, why be pro that? She's completely offsetting the entire, like, literally, they had marches in the streets over this issue. And now she's up there, as she was part of those marches, claiming, they're not important. Then why were you in the street? What were you doing with signs? If it's just one kid, come on, in a whole state. It makes no sense.
is lawmakers at the state level, people that are being paid, that are full-ass adults, that are bullying children.
Bully.
So just to be
For
clear,
no
okay, so
reason.
just to be clear,
Children.
you would personally like it to continue. You think it's perfectly okay for biological men to compete in women's sport. Is that your position?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't mind trans women being in sports.
Okay,
I
then,
have been,
then
I have
this
a
is the
kickball
problem.
league
Then, Kat, with
trans
respect to
women,
you,
and I beat them.
Kat, with great respect to you, I'm very glad you're not running this issue in America because it is grotesquely unfair to women.
Meet Marissa Rothenberger, a male pitcher absolutely dominating girls softball in Champlin, Minnesota.
And the pitch. Rothenberger back in the fifth. Swing and a miss here first. 0-2 pitch. Strike.
Rothenberger, at 6 feet tall, appears to tower over his female competition. In this game on May 6, 2025, he threw 7 strikeouts and shut out the opposing team. Apparently, Rothenberger's batting against average is .128, meaning opposing girl players only hit 12% of his pitches, which is considerably better than elite MLB players. He recently had an absurd 14 strikeouts in a single game. What was really amazing was listening to the dense male announcers as they gush about Rothenberger's wingspan and how hard he throws it.
See how she whips it. The long arms is just such an advantage. Wow. The whip action of that long arm for Rothenberger.
He's a boy, guys. Get it? He's male. And it's cheating. Stop gushing. The male coach who coaches Rothenberger was gushing too.
Our pitchers do a phenomenal job. We have Marissa Rothenberger. They keep us in every game.
What's not to like about having a male ringer on the team?
Except it's cheating, of course.
Rothenberger is apparently hoping to get recruited onto a women's softball team in college somewhere, and I found his profile on recruiting sites. But hopefully this helps expose the cheater before he can cheat any more girls out of their opportunities, scholarships, and victories.
Facts. So I just wanted to show that, and I actually I put down some bullet points on this one because I wanted to cover everything and where we are in society today, where we came from. This all started out, the first bullet point was tolerance, which has an undertone that you're the one who has an issue. It kind of, you tolerate a puppy. When my kids wanted a dog when they were younger, I don't want no dog. I'm going to be the one who ends up taking care of it. I'm going to be the one who does everything for it. You tolerate that dog. So kind of, indicates that you're the one with the problem, not everyone else, or not the puppy itself. The puppy's behavior is the problem, right? So when they asked for tolerance, they kind of came at it from that angle, and we're like, all right, whatever. Okay, I'll tolerate this behavior, even though my kid goes to this school, whatever, I'll tolerate it. Then it went over to live and let live. Why are you worried about it? Why are you worried about what we do in our home? Which is a relatable and a valid point, right? Because it's it's your business. Everybody wants that freedom. I think there's a natural libertarianism in everyone. And when I say everyone, I mean majority of the people who would say, yeah, I guess, if it doesn't impact me because I don't see it. It's in their home. Why should I care about what's going on in their home, right? And I think, again, most people want to naturally be left alone. So there's an empathy that automatically kicks in with that perspective. So it was like, okay, yeah, I guess you're kind of right. It really doesn't impact me in any way. Then they made an interesting turn over to civil rights, because that's when they started saying, what's the difference between gender dysphoria and being gay? And it's like, well, gay people have a sexual preference. You have gender dysphoria, meaning that's a condition. It's a mental condition. And I'm not bashing people. What I'm talking about here is the structure that was formed in order to be where we are today. And that's where I'm leading to right now. And I think most people align with, well, wait a minute, this is not the same thing. Because what they ended up doing after the comparing themselves to being gay, because I don't know if you guys remember, it used to be called the LGB community. It was just lesbian, gays, and what's the B? I don't know what the B is for. Bisexual, I think. Yeah, that has to be it. It was just the LGBT community, right? They tied themselves and added the T. And again, I don't see the correlation. I think there are a lot of people who think they're trans who are really gay, but I just don't think that there is a yes. Thank you, Miss Phoenix. They started tying themselves to that movement, and I think they were side-eyeing it, but they're like, I guess it's a civil rights issue. But then it started moving over, and you gave them rights to marry. It's like, okay. And then they started saying, well, what's the difference between what we're going through and what Black people went through in their civil rights movement in Jim Crow South? It's like, all right, what are we doing here? And I think that's when most Black people were looking at it, but at the same time, we weren't saying anything, because it's like, all right, we're just going to see where they go with this. Because from the civil rights movement and them tying themselves to that, because the family was separated, and I've talked about this before, I'm not going to go at length about how they got our women to start co-signing that. By our, I just mean Black women and the Black community. While naturally conservative, were tying on to a sympathy and empathy position with this issue, because again, yeah, I guess it's kind of, it's kind of similar maybe, but it's still offensive when they do it. But we can kind of see where they're trying to come from. We don't agree. So then they went from civil rights and their shared experiences in comparisons to slavery to acceptance. And the difference between accepting something and tolerating something is now you're saying, okay, yes, this is normal. And what we experienced was, in the lower income brackets, in the lower income areas, we started seeing more and more. I don't want to sound like it's a. I'll just say this. We saw the degeneracy of our communities. We saw Planned Parenthoods popping up in our communities. So there was a multi-pronged attack to the family. But this is just one of them. Getting rid of the titles. What is a woman? I don't know. Can't say what a woman is. They can say what a man is, and they know for sure they don't like it, because a man represents power structure. But they won't define a woman. They won't define the genders of your kids. And it's just, they just wanted to legitimize it morally and scientifically. So even scientific journals started changing verbiage in there about what a boy and a girl is. And it's like, This is getting more and more serious. So again, let's start over. Let me look at what I titled. It went from tolerance to live and let live. You know, what's going on in our home is what's going on in our home. To civil rights, and now we're at acceptance and acknowledging. Hey, this is who I am. Yes, it's a condition. Yes, I need to take meds to deal with the situation, but it's who I am. Okay. But the last step, which is I think what got Trump elected, was the celebration. And we always dismissed February, Black people, because it's like, all right, Black History Month, all right, we get the shortest month. Everyone's heard this stuff, right? That somehow turned into this group getting their own month. And it's like, well, wait a minute. What we went through, we all of a sudden got an appreciation for that month. Because, well, wait a minute, that's our month, but why are they getting a month? What is this? What are we doing here? And how come it's not the shortest month? And within our month, they have days, which is, fascinating. So we started saying, wait a minute, this is not, the math ain't math in here on all this. What are we doing here? They started saying you need to celebrate it, or you are anti, or you're a phobe of some form. And I think that's where we were last year, and probably the year before, leading into the last election, to where people, Black people in particular, and Hispanic people for sure, were like, no, we're not doing this anymore. You're out in the streets. I thought earlier when I was talking about tolerance, you said, or live and let live, you said, hey, what do I have to do with people and what they do in their own home? Now they're in the street doing it, out in the opening, in front of our kids. And worse than that, they're also trying to get our kids as part of the celebration, which, that's my thumbnail. I want to pull that thumbnail up because this is a perfect example. Image. This is my thumbnail. When you have children seeing something, that's one thing. But under the celebrate category, they are now saying, well, it's okay for kids to celebrate this. Why can't they celebrate? They need it to be normalized so that they don't bully other kids, or so that they don't laugh at kids, and they don't see this as a bad thing. Again, they need to accept this, but now we need to celebrate it. And it's like, all right, why do I need to explain to my kids what's going on with you if, again, this is supposed to be what's going on in your own home? Why are you expanding this to children? The attack on men is obvious. Again, they hate the hierarchy, the home hierarchy, the nuclear family. Okay, whatever. The attack on women were men who hated women, who started saying, hey, I'm a woman, and de facto eliminating the, I don't want to say originality, the uniqueness of a woman in society as the mother, the nurturer, the teacher. And now they're talking about, well, what's wrong with your kids learning about this? It's natural. This is normal. Even though that lady said, well, when we did this one thing, only one person was impacted. It's so minor. It's such a small issue. Well, then why does everyone have to celebrate it? And it's becoming this thing. This little Black girl over here is holding a flag. She doesn't know what any of this means. She's wearing a mask. Why? Because her parents are crazy. This girl, it looks like a girl, could be a boy. I don't know, because their parents don't know. And she probably doesn't know. Why is this happening? Absolutely, this is too much. Absolutely, this is too much. And the irony is beyond comprehension, because our women, Black women, are defending the elimination of womanhood and the woman, which is, it had to be strategy, or they stumbled onto things that were working and just wrote it out. They just keep going with it. Why do our Black women keep pushing this kind of stuff? I don't understand it, because they literally don't want you to exist. They want me to be able to say that I'm the same as you, and we're not. We're nothing alike. But this is where we are in society right now. Um, the celebrate or in 2024 in the celebration. So now the new stage right now today, and this is started a while back, but we're now talking about kids. They need to understand. It's time to teach them in schools. It's time to teach them in libraries. It's time for them to be overly exposed so that we normalize it. In Europe, they go to the beach and people are naked. It's it's natural. It's part of the body. We need it's okay for them to see it. We don't do that here. Sorry. We have the right to teach our kids when we want to teach them what we want them to learn. And it's really, really fascinating because the people who are all about this are on the left. And that's who our women are still behind. And I can't wrap my mind around it. And maybe because it's so crazy, that they just don't understand what they're doing. Because it doesn't, for a woman that they don't want to define as a woman, to defend the rights of somebody else to be a woman makes absolutely no sense. There's no through line. You can't figure that out. It doesn't add up. So they want the kids to join this celebration and learn. Well, the Trump administration is moving away from all this. Trump administration is like, yeah, we're not partaking anymore. They've got rid of DEI, which was a cloak. It was a trick to make Black people think, well, this is your civil rights. This is the same thing as affirmative action. And for the Black people, it kind of was. But we're in 2025 now. And when this started was 2024. And it's like, we're not doing this anymore. And Trump started doing speeches about it. He's like, we're going to get rid of this. And everyone finally was like, all right, yeah, this is going way too far. You are telling me what my kids can and can't do. And they were allowing, in my last live, I played a woman praying, and they hated her for it. And they were screaming her down. She was praying because the school socially transitioned her son, I believe, to a girl without her knowing it. Because you're not supposed to, this is between you and your counselor. Your mom doesn't need to know. She wouldn't understand. This is insanity. It's dangerous, and it's destroying the family. And it's separating people who otherwise would be there for the purpose of being a family. Why wouldn't the mother be put in on this conversation? Hey, this is what we were told. You may want to talk to your daughter about this and move forward. That's where we are. That's where we are. I remember seeing a pride parade, and they were saying, we're coming for your children. They were doing videos, like an active campaign. We're coming for your kids. Your kids need to know that it's okay to be this. It's like we're recruitment. They absolutely were doing this. And all I can ask is, what's the protest? Yeah, it was scary. And I think that, again, that woke up a lot of people. I don't understand why it didn't wake up Black women. I really don't understand. Yeah. Oh, there was a video, and they had like 30 people, because they showed, similar to the videos that I played, the PSYOP videos that I played with politicians all saying the same thing. It was a bunch of trans activists, and it was laid out like that, like Hollywood Squares, where they're all just lined up, and you could see them. They had a script, and they were saying, we're coming for your kids. And I'm like, wow, this is bold. And I think they jumped the gun. Thank God. America was like, no, what is this? We're not going for that. They thought that it was more popular than it was, I believe. And that was the beginning of the end for what they were doing. Yep, they were singing. Absolutely. Yep. Yes, I saw that. I've been quiet about having friends and family that like the same. Yeah, I mean, that is what it is. But I think what got me is hearing stories about the bathrooms in sports. Yeah, because those are two different things. Kiss my cheeks. Being gay or lesbian or bisexual, whatever, that's about your sexual preference and what you do in bed with somebody. Like, that's nobody's business. This is something different. This is out in the open, and these are people who are trying to tell your kids that it's okay to not be what you are. And it's going completely against everything civilization has said since man has existed. What's interesting is, you have people that were on continental Africa. There are people who are on continental, what we would call the Americas, North and South America. never coming in contact with each other, but they still have the same idea about civilization. You have people right now, there are still tribes throughout the world who have had zero contact with the outside world, and they still have the same familial structure, the same hierarchy. The only stray would be some guys have more wives, right? Which is, a point can be made for that, because the point of family is to multiply. So, we don't do that here, but I can at least see the logic in that. What I can't see the logic in is two men trying to have a child. Now, adoption is one thing. I think there's a strong debate for that, because what else would happen? What's going on, G. Will? What else are you going to do with these kids? At least give them a chance to have a home. I don't want to say a normal home, but at least you have a chance. But what's going on, True? But two men raising a boy seems like a peer pressure situation, and proclaiming that that's normal. I think a really good debate can be on that, because I've never spoken on this issue, because I don't really know for sure how I feel about it. I do have a different feeling about having a child. Because now this is not different. You're no longer saving some child who doesn't have the life that that they could have. You're no longer in that position. What you're doing now is you're creating a new situation, to where you're having a woman that you refuse to define have a baby and then give it to you, because naturally you can't do it. And this is not the same thing as a woman who's got medical issues and can't have a child, or a woman who's too old to have a child. It is impossible for two men to have a child. And we're now in a position where men are having children through surrogacy, and it's like renting a womb. I don't know. I've never thought about this out loud, and I've never said it. So just hearing it, it sounds really, really, really disrespectful and denigrating, because you have these two guys saying, "Hey, young lady, can you do me a favor and carry this child 9 months, and then we'll pay you to take it from you." There's a prostitution feel to it. It's a nasty. I won't say nasty. It's an uncomfortable feeling just thinking about this. And again, I've never talked about this or thought about this out loud. How I feel about this kind of surrogacy, or two women who can have children, who will inseminate themselves with some guy who will now never get to know his child, because they don't want him. Get him out of the way. Get him out of the way. We don't need him. You needed him for that child. I don't know. I might do a live on this. I might do some research and do a full live on this topic, because it's weird. It's the only thing I can say. Yes, men don't have a womb. So naturally, why are you trying to have children? Again, the adoption story is completely different, because you're saving a child. You have a child who has no parents, and you can at least give them some structure. But when you start going outside that and trying to have your own, I don't understand that. I really don't, because you guys have heard me say 1,000 times, I believe in balance in the home, and especially with a boy, with a girl also. But I believe that a boy needs the mother and the father, needs the nurturer and the protector, and the examples of what you need to be as you grow into who you are. There's anger issues. There's boundary issues that boys will have if they don't get checked. And that's all boys. To this day, I still have to learn my boundaries. So a woman can't provide that. But what two men cannot provide also is the motherly experience of the nurturing and the teaching and the genuine love, because she carried you from inception all the way till you came out 9 months. And there's a connection there. Like, you're literally part of her. And you can't, there's nothing like a mother relationship with her kids, unless there's something off with her, that can't go anywhere. Like, for her to just give it away to somebody else and then them to pretend like they've had it, it's touchy. I'm definitely going to talk about this later because I haven't thought about that, and now I'm more interested in the topic. But back to the stage.
Words mean. So if I hold
on 1 second. It says using a surrogate to means the child will belong to one of them while the other has no connection. Zero. And they're even doing this weird cocktail thing where they mix them up and then they don't know which one is theirs. And it's like, what are we doing? What, you don't want that child to know who they are? They're part of both the mother and the father. The mother, literally part of the mother, literally breathes and eats and functions and gets sick with and drinks the same thing. Whatever the mother does, that child is that. They're literally connected. So to take that connection away and just give it to somebody else is weird. There's absolutely an intuition. We don't have it. We just don't. What's going on, Paul? So I'm definitely going to look into this more, and I want to do a live on it. I just figure out I got to do it before I get monetized. Because that one won't last. Using this, yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. Anyway, let's listen to this person because now we're getting into the law and how there's a movement through attorneys to get certain things legalized or to keep certain things legal that, especially through the last 4 years, but even before that, there's been a movement to legalize things that most America does not agree with. And DEI was one of those because that was a big issue.
Hold up this navy blue mug and say that's orange, and use one of those, we have to be using words that have the same meaning. It's navy blue. So when I say it's navy blue, then you have to understand that as the same thing as I understand that. Otherwise, it's a meaningless conversation. So when we have a conversation about what is a woman, we need to all know what we mean by that. Now, it's your view and the view of many activists, I'm not saying you are, and many activists, that women has a number of different categories. People who were born women and are women, and men who believe that they are women or have a piece of paper saying they are women. The Supreme Court was very, very clear. Yeah. They're saying not only is the law now, they're saying it has always been the case that because you have a piece of paper, even a piece of paper, a gender recognition certificate, saying that you are legally a woman if you're born a man, you are not in fact a woman. Do you not accept that, or do you accept that ruling?
I mean, like, that's whatever. Like,
no,
for
that's
me,
not an answer to a question.
Let me
see, again, it's a why minimize it? You're the one who's saying this is all legitimized. But then when the courts say, that paper doesn't change your existence, whatever.
Let me finish my sentence. That is, to me, whatever. Because for me and my community, trans women are women. They have always existed. They will always continue to exist.
What does that mean, they've existed? Well, no one's saying they're figments of imagination.
Yeah, but we are saying that they're women.
No, you're saying they exist is not the same as saying they're women.
Well, I'm saying that they're women.
And but that's not the same as saying they exist.
If the law doesn't want to...
No, so we need to use words that have meaning.
Well, here's the words that have the meaning, because I've spent time to write these words, right, for you.
And we listen to them.
Frankly, I would rather share a bathroom with 100 trans women than one legal biological woman who wants to know what's inside my pants. And Julia, if I'm right in remembering, you did ask me what my genitals look like once live on TV.
I think that was in the context of a conversation and you raised that issue yourself.
I remember the quote. You don't have dangly bits, do you? So do you want to discuss dangly bits or not? Because frankly, I am now feeling in a position where I'm in a room with you and I feel unsafe. Yeah.
You feel unsafe?
I feel unsafe. I feel my heart racing. My hands are starting to sweat. Do you want to touch my hand? Would you want to clammy now? Okay. And I actually think I'm about to have a panic attack from sitting in a room with you. So I'd like to know now. Yeah.
So you're feeling... Yeah, you were asked to come on the show to have a conversation.
And I've had a conversation.
We had a very nice...
We've had a conversation.
Well, you read out a statement, and now I'd like to ask you some questions.
You read out your statement. You did at the beginning.
Out a statement. No, that's me introducing the topic for people who are just tuning in and
explaining
what happened.
And you added your ad-libs. You got to say what you thought about it. I've said my piece, and now I'd really like to go.
I thought you were actually plugged into a mic there. I thought we were going to have a conversation.
So this is the new administration, let me put this on the big screen. This is the new administration's perspective. White House press secretary will not respond to reporters using pronouns in their bios. And I don't think they should. And I made this joke before about Roman Reigns, the wrestler. I shouldn't have to acknowledge you. Like, why do I have to do that? Why can't I just say, and I don't mind, like, I'll honor if somebody says, call me she, and it's a guy. I don't mind doing that, I guess. But you shouldn't force people to do it. It should be an option. As part of the acceptance and tolerance and all the other words that I went over is, yeah, fine, that's fine. I'll call you she. If that's what you want to be called, I'm not gonna argue with you, and I'm not gonna fight over what you say you are. But when they start insisting you call me they, them, and I don't want to, now we have a problem. Because now you're infringing on my rights, and you're telling me what I have to say. So if you say I'm a panda bear, I should not have to acknowledge that. I could just say, okay, are you a male panda bear? Are you a female? Okay, I'll call you he or she. But you're saying you have to call me panda. It's like, no, I'm not doing that. You're creating a conflict for the sake of conflict. And I really, really, really like that she took that stance. If you put pronouns in your bio, I'm not doing that. I'm not playing this game. I'm here to give you guys information on the White House. That's what I'm here for. There's a judgment now. Actually, let me play this first.
Just as I was dismantling a corrupt government agency in Washington, a blue-haired liberal employee ran up to me and shouted, "Mr. Musk, you're going to have to get comfortable with calling me the right pronouns or you'll have trouble."
Wow, these liberals.
To her surprise, I calmly smiled. "All right, dear miss, what are your pronouns then?" She said, "They, them." I quickly responded, "Okay, you're both fired."
The Supreme Court
All right, so the Supreme Court made a decision on the military, and I'm just going to play this part out so you guys can understand what's going on right now. Because I'm sure if you haven't heard about it, you probably should have heard about it. But the Supreme Court just made a decision, and that this is going to be a chunk of what we're talking about here, because this is a big deal. And well, even before I get into that, I guess I could talk about it. There are a lot of jobs. Well, I'll play this. Do I want to do this? So there are jobs, especially when you get into the corporate world, that started out where they just pay you, you show up, you go home, we're good. Well, once jobs started becoming more plentiful, people started saying, well, I don't have to work here for $10. I can go over there and make $12. They created a thing called benefits. And a benefit is, hey, if you stay with me at this company, I will give you a week's vacation and still pay you. People start saying, oh, well, that's cool. I'll do that. Then there's other people who say, I'll pay you 2 weeks. And it created a competition between, we'll just throw fast food, Burger King, McDonald's. Okay, well, I can just go across the street and work for Burger King for that. They had to become more and more creative. They started giving dental benefits. Hey, you got bad teeth. How about I give you guys discounts, because I'm gonna work with this dentist over here who's trying to create benefits to give discounts over here. And then companies started working together to give benefits to their employees to get them to stay, because the good ones will always stay. The bad ones you don't want. So then they start saying, well, how about health benefits? We could start helping with that. And then you'll have a copay. And we'll cover 80% of these things. And we'll work with this new industry of insurance and figure out what's the best plans for us, right? So this kept expanding and expanding and expanding. That's where we are right now. You can get benefits. You can get gym memberships. If you really look at your benefits, which I never did. My wife has always done all that stuff. And God bless her for it, because if not for her, I would have no idea the stuff that I can get from my benefits. Like, there was a point where I had my back was jacked because I was doing physical labor at the time. And I could get massages like on a weekly basis. I didn't know that was part of my benefits. My wife's like, well, why don't you go get a massage? I ain't paying no money for that. No, it's part of your benefits. Oh, okay. And I started going to, like, there's so many things that HR and every company works on. Not every company, corporations more so, where they'll say, hey, we'll offer all this stuff to keep you healthy so that we don't have to pay as much on the health side. And it's smart. It makes perfect sense. Right now, if you're a high performing employee, money should, I've never seen money be the reason why somebody leaves if they're as good as they think they are. Now, everybody thinks they're good, but if you're really good, a company will do anything to keep you. And I know this for a fact because every time I give reviews to people and it's time for an increase, I would have, there's a scale, right? We'll just say 2% to 4% increases, right? But if somebody really is like, I can't live off of this 4% increase, I could make a business case to get them more. And there really is no cap on it. As long as I can make a business case to keep Paul Thomas, because Paul Thomas is like my best employee. I don't want to lose this guy. I cannot lose this guy. Well, what is he asking for? I can now negotiate with my boss to get Paul pretty much anything he wants, unless if it doesn't match the volume of what my business makes, then obviously you have an issue there. But within reason, I can pretty much all the time get my best employees what they want. And I've done it several times. And I've gotten it several times. I've gotten grants to where, oh, we can't pay you anymore. Like, you're off the scale on what we pay as a company for this position. Okay, well, I can get a promotion, or you can stay here and we'll give you this grant. It's a lump sum, which by the end of the year, it equals an increase. There's companies that will give you discounts on stocks, or they will just give you shares. They'll match your contributions. There's all kind of creative ways where company will say, we're not going to lose this employee. And that's what they do. The military is in position right now where, not just right now, over the last 16 years since Obama was in office, where they're having problems recruiting and enrolling people in the military. Part of it is wars. The other part is the benefits have been outgrown. It's not just, you get interest-free loans for a home. You can get really good medical benefits, even though you're dealing with the VA and it's a bureaucracy. You get your pension. That's not as school. They'll pay for your schooling, and a lot of people were going just for that because it's a huge advantage. But the benefits are not weighing with the employees, or not employees, with the military people, because they're like, I'm putting my life on the line and there's a lot of wars going on. I don't know if the school is worth it. So they were having problems with recruitment and enrollment, and they started letting in trans people and paying for some of the things that are needed to be trans. And this is a fact. I'm going to show. Actually, I can show it right now. Might as well show it right now before the video. But I just want you guys to understand why this is a much more serious issue than they're portraying it as, that you're going to see on this video. Because everybody in this chat, from Lonnie to G. Will to Phoenix to Catcher Jagger to Paul, everybody in here are taxpayers. Catcher Jagger, I don't know if you're from here, but either way, the United States taxpayer was paying for procedures and for meds for trans people. And where you once had the incentive of, if I go in, I can learn how to be, I can learn computer engineering. So when I get out, I have this huge, future. And that's after the post-military, I can go into a career. But now, if you're trans and you want to get a surgery, you can enter the military. And that's what's been happening. So let me show you guys what I'm talking about here. I'm going to go to the government website. Let's share screen. This is the. Let me reduce myself here so you guys can see this. This is the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness, and this is .gov website. Can you guys see that? No, you guys can't see that. Yeah. But this is the .gov website here. Can you see my cursor? Yeah, you can see my. So this is official. If you go to resources and go to documents, nope, not documents, go to links and you search, where is it? You search transgender. You click the first link. What's going on, King Perspectives? And this here is everything that the military does for trans people. So as a benefit to this subgroup of people, because it is a minority of people, King Perspectives, which I think is TP, G Will, Miss Phoenix, all you guys are creating a new benefit for these people, and we're paying for what they get, their incentives. This is the military service by transgender persons and persons with gender dysphoria implementation handbook. Are you like, hold on. Are you okay with that? You paid for this whole presentation, but not just that, you're paying for these benefits. So if we go to page 8, as you can see, I've already done this. Go to page 8. And this is as of 2018. Let's see. Service members who received a diagnosis of gender dysphoria from or had such diagnosis confirmed by a military provider prior to April of 2019 or were subsequently granted a waiver are considered exempt under the 2018 policy and are allowed to continue their transition or continue serving in their preferred gender according to 2016 policy. So all this started before Trump. And they carried it over. And you heard Trump, he really did not like Lloyd Austin, and he really did not like General Milley. This is why. This includes all medically necessary treatment and gender marker change in the defense enrollment eligibility reporting systems. You pay for this. You pay for this based on the timing. As long as it's before Trump came in, you got this stuff paid for, and they allowed you to continue serving. Let me ask you this, because this is again the person's personnel and readiness. How ready are you if you have to be on psych meds? Why was this acceptable? Like I don't. This should have never been a thing. But they're allowing people to transition, and we pay for it. It's insanity. This is insanity. So, with that said, I want to go back, and you guys can check that out again. It's the prhome.defense.gov. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. Ms. Deja Vu, how you doing? What's going on? So,
is set to allow the Trump administration to enforce a ban on transgender service members. The 63 order was divided along ideological lines and allows the administration to proceed as legal challenges move through lower courts. CBS News chief legal correspondent Jan Crawford joins me now for a little more analysis of this. Walk us through this decision today and what it means in practicality for the administration as it tries to enforce this ban.
Well, I mean, you really just hit the nail on the head. I mean, it means that the Trump administration will be able to implement it while the litigation continues in the lower courts. It was an unsigned order. The justices didn't give any explanation for why they were lifting this nationwide injunction. Neither did the 3 liberals who would have kept that in place. But what that means is now this order, which, as you know, Ed, was one of the very first ones the president did on his first day in office. He revoked President Biden's policy. He issued his own executive order allowing transgender service members to serve in the military, and then followed that up a week or so later with his own executive order to ban them. Now, this is similar, and the administration argued in court in their filings that it was essentially indistinguishable from the policy that Trump had in his first term. And during that time, the Supreme Court also allowed it to take effect.
So there's more.
So real quick, first of all, Uncle L, appreciate you as always. As always, Uncle L is the stream sponsor today. Thank you so much, man. I really genuinely appreciate you. So it's not a ban on transgender people because we want to pick on transgender people. It's a ban on transgender people because we can't afford it. I mean, we can't afford it, but should we? Should the taxpayer be paying this? Like the benefits of sending somebody to school, okay, you're not only sending this person to school, they're learning something, but now they can benefit society afterward. How does transitioning have anything to do with society? And I'm not one of those, greater good people, but I am one of those people who my taxpayers should go towards something productive. I don't see this as being productive. On top of that, you now have people who are on psych meds who are going to be going to war if we ever have to have that happen. How is that a positive? Like the reason why women weren't allowed to serve for a long time is because the physical requirements could not meet the standards that the military had, so they lowered the standards. It is what it is. I'm not going to argue against that. But when you now start adding chemicals by way of drugs, we now have a completely different element here. So are we going to allow people who are on drugs to serve, to fly, to go into battle, to drive tanks, to operate machinery? Like, what are we doing? This has nothing to do with those people specifically or what they believe they are or any of that. This has to do with military readiness cannot include people who are on drugs and psych meds on top. Like that's we cannot have this happening. So when unfortunately, people who want to serve, who are patriots, they're just not medically fit to do this. If you have asthma, you're not medically fit to do this. If you have a bum knee, if you have if you're missing fingers on your left hand, you can't serve. It doesn't matter how dedicated you are to the country. You are now a danger to the man next to you. That's what this is all about. And if you're on psych meds and you forget to take them, what happens to the person? That's not the same guy. How can you expect them to follow orders? So this is a huge issue that it seems to be getting not fully ignored because they're covering it, but they're covering it from the perspective of they're not letting trans people serve it, as if it's a bad thing. They're not saying why.
More than one case regarding this working its way through the lower courts, right?
That's right. So the one that they looked at today was this nationwide injunction entered by a federal district judge in Washington state. The federal appeals court there based in California will take a look at this case now. It'll go back down there. There's also a case here before the federal appeals court in D.C. And then there's another one in New Jersey. What does that mean? That means that as this litigation goes forward, it's very likely to at some point get back to the Supreme Court for a decision on the merits. I would expect the Ninth Circuit very well could come out differently than the D.C. Appeals Circuit Court of Appeals here, which would mean you've got that division and the justices will have to weigh back in and look at the merits.
And there's at least one of these cases involves 7 transgender service members. What has been their argument to continue? And do we have any sense, do they now literally have to step away from service as they continue fighting this?
I think that there's another week or 30 days. I'm not sure the time period where the administration has to figure out how they're going to implement it, but that essentially seems to be the gist of the executive order, yes. They argued, the transgender service members argued that, they've served our country honorably and that this order is blatantly unconstitutional. It's a prohibition on transgender people in violation of the First Amendment, equal protection issues. And so that's
You have no right to serve chemically impaired, and that I don't see how they're going to get around that argument. Do you need meds? Yes. Are they psych meds? Yes. Is it for gender dysphoria? Yes. Okay. We don't allow people to drink alcohol. We don't allow people to smoke weed, or they're not supposed to. We don't allow people to do any other kind of impairing drugs and serve. So what makes you special? I mean, that's going to be the crux of all of this at the end of the day.
It's been kind of the force of their arguments, just like that was very similar arguments made 8 years ago in Trump's first term.
Yeah.
But the administration argues in their filings that, you know, the military is entitled to great deference. And the Pentagon concluded that, quote, it was, quote, affecting military readiness and lethality. And so they believe that this was essential to having an effective fighting force. So
this likely now goes another year at least, though, right? It won't be decided by the end of this term.
I don't think it'll be that quickly. I mean, I think it would. I mean, they could do anything on an emergency basis like we saw today. But I think that this would be something that's probably a year away.
Okay. Jan Crawford, our chief legal correspondent, thanks for that. We'll catch up with you soon. CBS News senior national security correspondent Charlie D'Agata joins us now from over at the Pentagon. What do we know now about the nuts and bolts of implementing this ban? And do we have any hard numbers on how many service members are transgender?
Yes. And Ed, we're going to get to that in a minute because there's been no official statement from the Pentagon. I don't expect that we'll get one, but the reason I'm looking down at my phone is Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth reposted another massive victory in the Supreme Court. This is from Caroline Leavitt, saying Trump administration can enforce transgender military ban, Supreme Court says. Again, restoring readiness and lethality, not DEI or gender ideology. So this is something the Defense Secretary has been behind, if you want to put it that way, from day one after President Trump's executive order on that term. And as Jan said, revoking an order that had already been in place by President Biden to let transgender members serve. So it's been a roller.
It's almost like everything Biden did was wrong, and not from a I disagree perspective, but from a perspective of, did any of that have to do with this country, or was it strictly what you were lobbied to do? What's the logic behind that? We can have more people in, but I thought the number is so minuscule that it doesn't matter. What is the logic? We had Rachel, what's Rachel Levine running around, who was full military member, who was the health department. Do you guys remember Rachel Levine? You know who Rachel Levine is? If you don't know who Rachel Levine is, this person was in charge of the health of this country, which explains so much. Present. And I'm just pointing out that this is not normal. This person was in charge of the health of this country. Like, what are we doing here? First of all, the person's not healthy, mentally or physically. This person who was in charge of health under Joe Biden. What do we? This is the health secretary. And we wonder why we have so many issues. He said, that's from Philly. Yeah, this person's not healthy. But this is what it's like everything Biden did was wrong. And I don't understand how you can get everything wrong. Nothing? You can't get anything right?
Transgender members that we've spoken to, a lot of them just said, look, I'm going to quit because I can't take the uncertainty. Okay. Some of them have families. Many took issue, what was seen as like a personal attack, an executive order that wrote, in part, it's inconsistent, an individual's sex conflicts with a soldier's commitment to honorable, truthful, and disciplined lifestyle. Now, in terms of the numbers, it's hard to tell because in terms of how the DOD describes people that have or transgender individuals,
That was definitely weird. That was weird. I don't know. Yeah, see, this type of thing doesn't happen to me. This does not happen to me. Everything just went black. Read into it what you will. Can you guys hear me okay? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can I get a 1 if you can hear me? A 2 if I'm. It looks like you can hear me. I've never had that happen. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? All right, cool, cool. That's never. So I've gotten kicked out before. That's not what just happened. StreamYard went black. YouTube went black. My screen was fine. My internet was fine. That was weird. Anyway, let's continue, shall we?
Was seen as like a personal attack, an executive order that wrote in part, it's inconsistent, an individual's sex conflicts with a soldier's commitment to honorable, truthful, and disciplined lifestyle. Now, in terms of the numbers, it's hard to tell because in terms of how the DOD describes people that have or transgender individuals, they say they describe it as gender dysphoria, right? A medical condition that would disqualify them from service. In that regard, according to statistics, 0.2% of service members. That puts the number at about 4,200 people. But advocacy groups that we've spoken to said the actual number is around 15,000. And they also point out these are highly trained, highly experienced individuals, and their removal would have an impact on force readiness.
So it goes from 2% and diminishing everything to 15,000 people. It greatly impact our military readiness. They play both sides. What did Uncle L say? What did you do to me? I was just the Shim from Philly. Like, man, it just went black. And it reset all my settings. So I had to go in and adjust the sound, and I had to adjust the camera again. I reassigned the camera. Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, and that's part of the argument about the back and forth is that what are you doing to potentially disrupt military operations if you're pulling people out, allowing them to get back in?
Allowing transgender troops to serve.
Okay, so this is where it's going to take a turn, right? Because now it's about to turn into a racial thing and a racial comparison, and I hate that. I really hate that. And that's what we're gonna run into here. You have an obvious your fault, Uncle L. You have an obvious trans person, and they're upset over the Supreme Court decision, which you have a right to be upset. You have a right to voice your opinion. But I do not like I ain't putting that up, G. Will. I do not like the comparisons to Black and civil rights. I hate it, actually.
Hurts lethality and it hurts readiness. What do you say to that?
Well, there's no evidence of that. I think that, if that was the case, we've seen transgender people serving honorably for the last several years. And what has changed between now and then? They've just woken up to a new administration who has a different outlook on their ability to serve. So I think that, if you talk to people who are serving on active duty alongside transgender troops, they're not making these complaints. The leaders in the military are not making these complaints. These are political complaints about military service. So I think that all of the courts that have looked at this issue and looked at it, have said there's nothing in fact to back up what the government is claiming here. In fact, the judges challenged them to produce evidence, and they couldn't produce any evidence. So
they couldn't produce any evidence. Why did they side with Trump and the government? To just dismiss it is really, I don't understand that. I think they're relying on the people who are watching this to say, oh my God, there was no reason. There's no, it's just they have to be transphobe. That's the only conclusion you can come to. I think that's the point of lying outright like that.
think it's a really dark day for our country, where basically we're allowed to discriminate against a class of people.
If Scott, if they can't produce evidence that this actually does, in fact, have an impact on readiness, I mean, how is this not then just discrimination?
Well, it's the opinion of the commander in chief, who, according to our Constitution, is the head of the military. I mean, regardless of anyone's opinion or anybody's, whatever side you're on, whether you're for it or against it, at some juncture, the president is the commander in chief of the military, and he has and should have broad latitude to determine how the armed forces should be operated. And so I think that's what he's doing here. I think that's ultimately what the court said today, was that the president is the commander in chief, and we gotta respect that.
But I mean, to her point, if there's not a downside, and it's been going on for years now, and I mean, I'm just presenting your argument to them.
Yeah.
What is the argument other than Trump, Hegseth just doesn't want trans people in the military?
Well, I mean, I think that the president, we'll ultimately see. I think that's why the court is allowing the president to move forward with this until it works itself through the court system. Maybe the Supreme Court will be the final arbiter here to say, yeah or nay, you can do this. But ultimately, I think the court is showcasing deference to the executive, saying that, look, you're the president, you're over the military. You do, for the most part, get to sort of dictate the standards of our military. And I don't really see how you can push back against that. Again, we'll see what happens in the court.
I can.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I can. What if the president wakes up tomorrow and says, I don't want any black people in the military? Do we have...
There we go. There we go. And comparing, so what are the medical expenses of having Gw in the military? Okay. What are the medical expenses of having She-Will? Sorry.
Do we give deference to him on that? Well, no. Wait a second. It's not ridiculous. It's not ridiculous because you're discriminating against a group of people in a very similar way. No,
I knew you were going to say that, but
excuse me. Well, I'm glad you.
But hold on. I'm curious. Why is it ridiculous? I mean, you just said the president should be the one who just decides.
And this is a black woman, and then Jamel Hill's a black woman. Why do our women do this? Why are we doing this? You don't have to do this. You do not have to do this. Why are you doing this? No, you're Gw. I wasn't talking about you.
Right. So if he decides, he wakes up tomorrow and says, I think it's bad for morale, it's bad for cohesiveness, for there to be black people in the military, Latino people in the military. Just in her hypothetical scenario, what's the difference between that and what we're seeing here?
I mean, are you
deja vu, Miss Phoenix? What's the difference between you and a trans person? Because they clearly can't see the difference. How is this even a question? How is race and a medical condition comparable? They should be offended. They shouldn't be saying, well, what is the difference? She's so far gone that she doesn't understand her blackness and her womanhood is not the same thing as a guy who claims to be a woman. I would be interested to see if they would be willing to identify or define what a woman is. I don't think they can. I don't think they care to. Or I think they're scared to. What's the difference between black, your race, your skin color, and somebody who has a medical condition who's claiming, you can even put it on skin color, that they're not the skin color that they are? You have to accept that they're actually white. Look, you're not seeing the skin color that you're seeing. I guess mine's kind of yellow. You're not seeing the skin color that you think you see. I want you to see another skin color. Then I would say, okay, well, yeah, what is the difference? But in this case, these people are insane. To bring that up is so insulting. It's so insulting. You know what it is, TP? I think you may want to change that back. I definitely would change that back. But TP, it's actually sophistry. There's a word of the day. Sophistry. You guys know what sophistry is? How do you spell it? Sophistry. There it is. I didn't spell it right, but yes, this is the sophistry I want. So what it is she knows, she has to know, and if she doesn't, then she's just an idiot. But she knows, let's see, share screen. She knows for a fact, in my opinion, how you doing, Miss Jamie Jules? She knows for a fact that your race is different from being transgender, right? So what she's doing is she has the intention of deceiving. She knows, she has to know what she's saying is not true. She has to know. So what she's saying is, hey, well, you let black people in. What's the difference? I'm looking for an example. I don't care about all that. But what it is you make a false equivalence knowingly and then go forward with that argument as if it's true. Seems true, but are really false. She knows what she's doing. Because that woman, I don't care for her, but she's no dummy. She's smart. She knows she has to know the difference between race and transgenderism. She has to. I refuse to believe that she's that stupid. I've watched her for too long. Looking for it. Gee, well, you might want to change your name back. Please don't do this. I will have to time you out if you do that.
Really going to go down this ridiculous.
I'm just.
I'm sorry.
This is ridiculous. This is a ridiculous argument.
Well, okay.
The president and the Secretary of Defense have an argument here. They believe that readiness and unit cohesion and overall operations of the military are impacted by this. That is their opinion, and that is the opinion of the Commander-in-Chief, who the Constitution gives broad latitude to run the armed forces. So that's their opinion. You're allowed to have one. You're allowed to have one. You're also allowed to run for president and become Commander-in-Chief yourself. But until you do, he's the Commander-in-Chief.
I have to just say, I didn't hear an answer to the hypothetical, right? I just didn't hear it.
Though.
I didn't. I mean, okay, the definition of discrimination,
black woman.
according to the American Psychological Association, discrimination is the unfair or prejudicial treatment of people or groups based on characteristics such as race, gender, age, or sexual orientation.
Transgenderism is not a sexual orientation. Matter of fact, transgenderism is the refusal to admit to being a gender. It's the opposite. I don't even know why she looked up discrimination. No, gee, well, I'm timing you out. You put user in timeout. I'm gonna give you 1 minute. 1 minute. You can't type it. You can't type for 1 minute. But transgenderism is the refusal to admit any of these things. So Rachel Dolezal, which is the perfect example of everyone was outraged because she's a white woman. She worked for the catchers laugh. She worked for Black causes. She was with BLM, and they found out she was white. All of a sudden, she's the worst human being in the world. Why? Because these people now are making this argument, and it's so ridiculous because now they're doing it with gender. So you really want to compare it? Then I need a public apology for Rachel Dolezal. She did nothing wrong. I made a video about this before I started going live. I was outraged by it because I'm like, you got to be kidding me. The whole Milli Vanilli thing, everybody, when you find out somebody's fake, it's okay to dismiss them. You're done. Go. But what these people are saying is, don't dismiss me, celebrate me. This goes against everything we've ever done and everything we've ever known in civilization. Why did she look this word up? They won't even define what a woman is for you. So why even bring gender up as part of the discrimination? Now, you can be a misogynist, but you have to define what a man is and you have to define what a woman is in order to be misogynist. Otherwise, what are you talking about? Who am I hating if there's no such thing as a woman? I could just become a woman and then bash women. I could just literally do what you will did, misgender myself and insult women. And you can't call me a misogynist. Because I'm not a man anymore. Okay, now I'm a man back again. These word games is why that woman earlier, when the one walked away, got annoyed and walked away. She was saying these words have to have meaning. We have to agree that this is white. We have to agree that this is white before we can go on talking about it. You can't see red and call it red, and I'm talking about it being white. The conversation, we're talking past each other. I don't care what you think. You can't have a real conversation. So when a woman says she can't, or a guy says he can't define what a woman is, and then you ask a woman, well, what do you think a woman is? And she can't define it. How can you have a conversation about gender?
What is the difference between, prohibiting certain groups like transgender people from serving versus, people based on their race or even their gender, frankly?
I personally think there's a difference, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
Well, I will say, do you believe that race and are you saying that the quality of race and the quality of transgender are the same?
So the reason Shamika wouldn't, the reason why he didn't want to touch it, because he just got into that argument 2 days ago, with Anna Navarro over the same thing. They argued all the way into the break. Like, they literally had to go to break because they wouldn't stop arguing over it. That's what you get, G. Will. That's what you get. You got to live with this. Now I should go live every day for 14 days. You got to live with that name and your decisions. Put your nose in the corner. Think about what you did. Now you're stuck with that name for 2 weeks. That's what you get.
Asking the question because I think you're making there's a distinction, but you're not explaining why.
No, I'm asking you. You guys brought up the hypothetical. Are you arguing that someone's race is the same as someone choosing to become transgender?
But your argument, you've made the argument twice that the commander-in-chief's opinion is all that matters.
So we're sidestepping your own argument now, because he wants them to be very clear. Are you saying, and it's the same thing, because he wants to get them on international TV, because CNN's national, but the world watches it. Are you saying that race is the same as transgenderism? Well, they don't want to just outright say it. They just want to ask the question. I was just asking. They want to hide behind I was just asking a question. I wasn't implying that it's the same thing, because they know the backlash. You want to lose all black people. You make a public statement as this white transgender person saying that what's going on with you is the same thing that was going on with us in Jim Crow and slavery and throughout all of our U.S. history. Go ahead and say it. I dare you. Watch how many people you guys lose on the left doing that nonsense. So what do you do? She sidesteps it. Did you see the clip of Tasha K? Oh no. Uh-oh. No. No, I have not. I will check it. All right. You're lucky they get stuck on she will. That's what you get.
You've said that twice now.
Well, I'm going to look that up, though.
So if he wakes up tomorrow and says it's not okay to be gay or lesbian and serve, because that's his opinion, there's nothing to back that up. They meet the physical standards. They meet the intellectual standards. They have voluntarily decided to serve their country, to give their life for this country. So many of us don't have to.
Do they have to take hormone treatments and meds, psych meds? Because then you can say yes. No, they can't be there. Sorry. If they do, you're fine. Does any transgender person meet the medical requirements? If so, serve. Because at that point, you're just a cross-dresser. But you guys are on meds for a medical condition. Sorry.
That it's the opinion without any basis in fact. That's what matters more than the Constitution of equal rights and equal protection.
Go ahead. No,
I was going to say the other thing, or there's a few things that bother me about this, and mostly it was the language of the policy, right? When you're reading at some of these words, transgender people as inherently untruthful, undisciplined, dishonorable. That's like a very weighty thing to say about people who are courageously deciding to protect this country. The other problems.
All right, so I may not agree on the dishonorable part, but how truthful can you be? How truthful can I be if I tell all you guys I am a woman? Am I being truthful? What is wrong with saying that? It's not true. That's what's wrong with saying it. I'm a woman. Okay. So we know you're a liar. Either you're a liar or you're a kook. One of the two. So there's nothing wrong with saying that there's an issue with integrity or honesty, because you could just be crazy and legitimately believe that you're a woman, but that doesn't make it true. And that's the problem here. Because when you say you're a woman, then I expect you to be able to define what that means. None of them can define the word woman. They will give you a blanket, generic definition of womanhood. You say, okay, well, womanhood, what is that? What is the umbrella? What is the ultimate? What is the woman part of womanhood? They can't do it. They won't.
God, is that it's never enough. It's bathrooms today. It's sports today. It's sports tomorrow. It's the military today.
No, it's also sports today, by the way.
Yeah, it is sports today. And
80% of Americans agree, by the way.
Oh, that's fine. And 80%, guess what? The majority sometimes is wrong. That also happens, right? Because the majority used to believe that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was somebody who was a threat and somebody who was not a good American. The majority of people used to be against civil rights.
She is tying transgenderism right now to civil rights, MLK. Like, what are we doing? Lady, what are you doing? This is why you don't have a job. She used to do this during sports. Like, what? And they're using a black woman to do that. That's what bothers me the most. Because if a white woman was saying this, she'd be canceled. We would not allow that. So what they do is say, hey, we need you to say this script. This is a female Stephen A. We need you to go forward and say that transgenderism is the same thing? Really? You're comparing the trans rights to MLK and civil rights movement? Listen to this woman.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was somebody who was a threat, that somebody who was not a good American. The majority of people used to be against civil rights. Were they right? No, they weren't. And so the whole point is when you target one group, and inevitably that line moves to everybody else. And I'm not saying he's coming for black people tomorrow, but considering that this is a military or this is a leadership that is already using DEI as code word for black people already when it comes to the military, suddenly when you don't protect the most vulnerable, you wind up making it worse for everybody else that's in the marginalized community. You don't think trans people are vulnerable in this country?
So is it your position that the commander-in-chief should recruit people who you're describing as vulnerable into the...
No, he should recruit people who want to serve and protect this country. And it's really kind of ironic considering he dodged the draft that he suddenly has an opinion about what the
There was a scene... What's that guy's name? Crap. He refurbished. It's insane. Where is it? There is a scene. Second, I'm watching it, trying to get to where I need to get. All right. I'll probably get hit for this, but I'll just I'll delete it when I'll edit this part out. But this is important enough. This is what what's going on, Toby? G will. This scene is the first thing that comes to mind when listening to Jamil Hill, because she's not very smart. This scene in 300.
There is such a road, good king, just past that western ridge. It's an old goat path. The Persians could use it to outflank us.
Not one step closer. Monster.
Wise king, I humbly request an audience.
I'll skew you where you stand.
I gave no such order.
So just because you want to serve, let me see if I can. Just because you want to serve and you are a patriot does not mean you have to be allowed to serve.
Manners.
There is nothing to forgive, brave king. I know what I look like.
You are the crimson of a Spartan.
I am Ephialtes, born of Sparta. My mother's love led my parents to flee Sparta, lest I be discarded.
A shield and armor.
My father, sir, I beg you, bold king, to permit me to redeem my father's name by serving you in combat. My father trained me to feel no fear, to make spear and shield and sword as much a part of me as my own beating heart. I will earn my father's armor, noble king, by serving you in the battle.
So
Raise your shield.
Sire.
There it is.
Raise your shield as high as you can. Your father should have told you how our failings works. We fight as a single, impenetrable unit. That is the source of our strength. Each Spartan protects the man to his left, from thigh to neck, with his shield. A single weak spot, and the phalanx shatters. From thigh to neck, Ephialtes. I am sorry, my friend, but not all of us were made to be soldiers.
But
if you want to help in a Spartan big,
It's such an important message because these people are saying because they're willing that they should be that somehow correlates with being able. And if you are on drugs, especially prescription drugs, how can you convince anybody that you are fully you can be willing, but you're fully able to serve? It's not always the same. What's going on, Dantana? It's not always the same. So that argument that this person is making,
the commander in chief should recruit
doesn't make
people
sense.
who you're describing as vulnerable into the
No,
lethal
he
fighting
should,
force?
he should recruit people who want to serve and protect this country. And it's really kind of ironic
They
considering
want to
he
serve.
dodged the draft that he suddenly has an opinion about who to serve.
He has an opinion because he won the election.
I think for my
All right, so let's get the trigger warning out now because this is about to get the. I'm going to show same thing I did last time. I'm going to show you guys where they want it to go, and it's going to get disturbing because they want your kids, not just you. They don't care about you anymore. They want your kids to see this as normal, but they want to tie it to race, and I don't like it. I really don't like the race part.
Black sisters, my non-trans
Cis black sisters.
My womanhood is not a threat to any other woman's womanhood.
You're not a woman.
There's a history. I think we have to acknowledge the history and the trauma around how black womanhood is disavowed in the United States. You know, when Sojourner Truth said, "Ain't I a woman?" in 1851, she was talking about the erasure of her womanhood and her blackness as a woman. And so there's historic trauma around that. I think we have to heal around that. And so I think a lot of black women see trans women and feel the history of that disavowal of black womanhood. And there's a pain and trauma there. I think hurt people. So we have to contend with how we've been hurt. And what I would say to black men is that your attraction to us is not a reason to kill us.
I know. So that's like the 600-pound woman calling everyone a hater. No, it's not. It's got nothing to do with that. Like, it's so weird. Your attraction to us is not a reason to kill. Like, what are we doing? Come on, what are we really doing here? It's so stupid. So here, Candace Owens is going to make the argument that I made earlier about Rachel Dolezal, and it's like, okay, so, well, I'll watch it. She's going to show them how ridiculous their arguments are.
Unpack is why you believe the transsexuals experience is not one that deserves to be validated.
Yeah, and I'm similarly trying to unpack why you don't believe Rachel Dolezal's lived experience is one that should
No,
be.
I do. I understand, and that's the conflation where you're trying to unpack one topic by putting up
exactly
another.
the same.
But we can't ask why a rhinoceros isn't an elephant. We're talking about an elephant, and the elephant in the room is that you have a skewed perception, in my opinion, about a transsexual's experience. And I'm simply asking, why do you feel like it doesn't deserve to be validated if that's how the person...
So the fault in that first part of what he said, when he said we can't ask why an elephant isn't a rhinoceros or whatever. The difference is the rhinoceros would have to tell us that we need to call him an elephant. Then it's comparable. Then we could say, huh? No, you're not. You're not. So he doesn't understand. This guy's not smart. I don't even know who this is. He's just not smart. I know he's not smart. I know he's not smart enough to be talking to Candace Owens, especially on a topic like this.
It feels, because you know what you guys do, and I'm gonna say you guys that have these strong opinions.
But I just am one person sitting
here.
here.
These strong opinions. No, it's people that you represent. You have very strong opinions, and what happens when it comes to the LGBT community is you'll conflate pedophilia by using children and gay, which are two different things.
I'm not conflating here. Your argument is that if someone who is not clearly being born with a penis, for example, decides that in their lived experience, actually, no, they should have had a vagina, and so they're going to start living like they have a vagina and getting cosmetic procedures like they have a vagina, that suddenly I should respect that. I'm saying, okay, keep it consistent and say the exact same thing about Rachel Dolezal, and you hesitate there. For some reason, you don't want to do that. And so...
no, I said she was crazy.
Exactly.
So she's crazy because she says she identifies as a black woman and she's white. But a guy who identifies as a woman, complete opposite gender, is not crazy. And he said it really fast. Look, he said it like instantly. No, she's crazy.
Actually, no, they should have had a vagina, and so they're going to start living like they have a vagina and getting cosmetic procedures like they have a vagina. That suddenly I should respect that. I'm saying, okay, keep it consistent and say the exact same thing about Rachel Dolezal, and you hesitate there. For some reason, you don't want to do that. And so...
no, I said she was crazy.
Exactly. So you have to keep it ideologically consistent. That's all I'm saying. But I'm saying to you, I'm consistent. Rachel is not a black woman, and a trans person can't just wake up one day and decide to be a woman. A man can't wake up one day and decide to be a woman because of lived experience. I'm sorry that I'm consistent, but you have to figure out why you're not.
So you're saying more black...
And again, this is going to be more people of that persuasion telling, well, just listen to this. This is, I'm curious to see what you guys think about this.
People get abortion.
Yes. So I look
Okay,
at
why is that, white lady? White lady, why do more black people get abortion? Because abortions are based on what? Lack of access to resources. Because abortions disproportionately happen to impoverished people. Why are black people more impoverished than white people? Because of white supremacy. So thank you for pointing out that people that have been forced into poverty through systemic racism of the last 200 years are forced to abort their baby more because of the lack of resources to be able to raise a baby. And then you, as a white lady, use that as your talking point to take the health care away from those same women that are suffering in those same impoverished neighborhoods because you don't want to acknowledge the white supremacy behind it all. Go ahead.
And parent actually helps.
There's a lot. There's too much there. So black women, if you live in poverty, you should abort your babies. That's what he was just making a case for. I don't know. Maybe he identifies as she. I don't know. Jason Lee. I don't know who that is. But they have no issue with you guys deleting and unaliving your babies. None. This black woman, again, I always focus on black women because that's who I care about. Listen to this young lady. I'm sure she doesn't identify. I won't say I'm sure, but listen to how scary this is. I'm about to blow this up because listen to her. I want you to listen to her verbiage, and she does not understand. And then this is one of the rare cases where a white woman is telling a black woman, what are you saying? Do you know what you're saying? And it's actually right. Listen to this. Let me make this bigger. I gave you guys a trigger warning, so why can't I make this bigger? Okay, now, okay, there we go.
Black community, just in regards to helping us not be overpopulated, right? The Black community is overpopulated, it is.
There have been 20 million Black children aborted since 1973. Do you think that's a good or bad thing?
So the Black community is still overpopulated because of our government. It is. Gang relations.
The Black community
Stop talking so I
is
can finish.
below
Stop talking so I can
replacement
finish.
rate.
Stop talking so I can finish.
You just said that there are too many Black people. How can you say that?
So I didn't say that. And don't clip
That
on me either.
killing
I
Black
didn't say that. Don't
people is
clip on.
not the
I didn't say
answer to
that. Don't clip
poverty.
on. I didn't say that. Don't clip on.
You just said.
I didn't say that. Don't clip on.
No, you did.
Don't say that. I didn't say that. As a Black person, I didn't say that. So don't misinterpret what I said.
You said Planned Parenthood's helping you because the Black population is too overpopulated.
Is that what I said?
That is
Play the clip
eugenic
back.
statement, ma'am.
Is that what you believe? Is that what you believe I said? Is that what y'all believe I said?
That's what you just said.
Is that what I said? Is that what I said?
Did you?
Is that what I
yes
said?
or no? Did you
Is that what I
say
said?
the Black population is too overpopulated?
Go back to the beginning of what she said, because this is terrifying that a Black woman would say something like this.
That are suffering in the same impoverished neighborhoods because you don't want to acknowledge the white supremacy behind it all. Go ahead.
Planned Parenthood actually helps the Black community, just in regards to helping us not be overpopulated, right? The Black.
It's literally what she said. She said, abortions help Black people not be overpopulated. This is a Black woman. This is a Black person. Black women have more abortions to help keep us from overpopulating. That is literally eugenics. Literally, that is the definition. Do I need to give you guys the definition of eugenics? That's literally eugenics. This woman does not realize what she's saying. She's talking about the extermination of her own people. The study of how to arrange reproduction within the human population to increase the occurrence of heritable characteristics regarded as desirable. She's talking about depopulation. Like that's she's talking about Black people, as Margaret Sanger did, that we should not populate. There's too many of us.
Overpopulated is.
There have been 20 million Black children aborted since 1973. Do you think that's a good or bad thing?
So the Black community is still overpopulated because of our government. It is. Gang relations.
The Black community
Stop talking so I
is
can finish.
below
Stop talking so I can
replacement
finish.
rate.
Stop talking so I can finish.
You just said that there are too many Black people. How can you say that?
So I didn't say that. And don't clip
That
on me either.
killing
I didn't say that. Don't
Black
clip on.
people is
I didn't
not
say
the
that. Don't
answer to
clip on. I didn't say that. Don't clip on.
You just said.
I didn't say that. Don't clip on.
No, you did.
Don't say that. I didn't say that. As a
This is
Black person,
embarrassing.
so don't misinterpret what I said.
You said Planned Parenthood's helping you because the Black population is too overpopulated.
Is that what I said?
That is
Play the clip
eugenic
back.
statement, ma'am.
Is that what you believe? Is that what you believe I said?
I played it back. That's literally what she said.
Is that what y'all
That's
believe
what
I
you
said?
just said.
Is that what I said? Is that what I said?
Did you?
Is that what I
yes
said?
or no? Did you
Is that what I
say
said?
the Black population is too overpopulated?
The Black community is overpopulated. Yes, it is.
Then she repeats it.
Statistically,
like your narrative is
African
insane.
Americans
Your
are
narrative is
below
insane.
replacement rates.
Let me say, hold on.
There are more abortions happening than live births. I just tried to bring in science.
You didn't understand. No, you didn't understand something. Right?
They don't care about black babies. Don't care.
As a Black-
How would you know that, ma'am?
Pro-abortion is by in itself theoretically against the Black community. Point blank.
So she accidentally said pro-abortion is against the Black community, which that's my position. Doesn't have to be your position, but she just made the opposite point of what she was trying to make because she's not an intelligent person. And she clearly has not thought this through. So now she's saying, point blank period, pro-abortion is against the Black community. Okay. Now you agree with the young lady. Before that, you were saying Planned Parenthood helps. How is Planned Parenthood helping and the cause? She doesn't even know what she's saying. Jamie Jules, I hate having to agree with this white woman about Black women, but this woman doesn't get it. She doesn't care.
Period.
Pro-life?
Point blank period.
No.
Point blank period.
How many pregnancy centers does the pro-life movement operate?
True.
I don't know. I don't give a fuck.
More than 2,500. How many maternity homes does the pro-life movement operate?
How many kids are in the foster care system?
More than
How many kids are
400.
still being ruined by bad parents? by the fact that a Republican Party cannot consistently take care of them. How many of these kids are consistently still not being taken care of? Yes, you mean to tell me? Yes, you mean to tell me that I should
Give me back my mic.
So her perspective is that kids are being ruined by the foster care system, so kill them. And not just kill them, but kill them before they get to that stage. That argument has never made sense to me. I've never understood it. I'm not convinced that just because somebody is poor, they can't have kids, and that they should unalive the kids. I'm more from a preventative perspective. But for this person to stand up there and say that it's, I guess, better to unalive babies before they're born and put into a bad situation than to allow them to live life is wow. There's too many examples of people who came from nothing and became legends in sports, legends in acting, legends in tech, in industry. For her to just say, we don't need them, it's too populated. She's been indoctrinated and doesn't know it. So this one, I don't think she realizes what she's saying. Like the other lady I knew, that was sophistry. She was being deceptive and making a really bad comparison. This person has no idea what the insinuations are of her own words. She doesn't get what she's saying. She's saying we need to abort to keep the population stable. And then the white chick is actually right when it came to we are below, like we're unaliving combined with older people dying more than we're reproducing. We're not meeting replacement rate. And that's not just Black people, that's all of us. But to be pro unaliving of millions and millions and millions of fetuses is wild to me, to think that that's a good thing. Like I've seen people who are pro-life and pro-abortion. They believe what they believe, but I've never seen one who enjoys or think that it's good to abort. Usually it's a horrible circumstance, and they talk about R word, and they talk about, underage and all that stuff. Everyone understands those cases. Problem is that's a very, very small percent of cases, and we operate as if that's the majority. And she's acting as if this is normal. What's going on, Mel? This person is horrible, but they don't know they're horrible. So she's making literal anti-Black statements as a Black woman to a white woman. And the white woman's saying, hey, do you understand what you're saying? Do you really get what you're saying?
That are suffering in those same impoverished neighborhoods because you don't want to acknowledge the white supremacy behind it all. Go ahead.
And Parent actually helps the Black community just in regards to helping us not be overpopulated, right? The Black community is overpopulated, it is.
Population.
There have been 20 million Black children aborted since 1973. Do you think that's a good or bad thing?
So the Black community is still overpopulated because of our government. It is. Gang relations.
The Black community
Stop talking so I
is
can finish.
below
Stop talking
replacement rate.
Stop talking so I can finish.
You just said that there are too many Black people. How can you say that?
So I didn't say that. And don't clip farm either. I didn't say that. Don't clip farm. I didn't say that. Don't clip farm. I didn't say that. Don't clip farm.
You just said.
I didn't say that. Don't clip farm.
No, you didn't.
Don't say that. I didn't say that. As a Black person, I didn't say that. So don't misinterpret what I said.
You said Planned Parenthood's helping you because the Black population is too overpopulated.
Is that what I said?
That is eugenic statement, man.
Literally.
Is that what you believe? Is that what you believe I said? Is that what y'all believe I said? Is that what I said? Is that what I said?
Did you?
Is that what I
yes
said?
or no? Did you
say
the Black population is too overpopulated?
The Black community is overpopulated. Yes, it is.
Statistically,
like your narrative
African Americans are below replacement rates.
Let me say, hold on.
There are more abortions happening than live births. I just try to bring in science.
You didn't understand. No, you didn't understand something. Right?
They don't care about Black babies. Don't care.
How
would you know that, ma'am?
Pro-abortion is by in itself theoretically against the Black community. Point blank period.
Pro-life?
Point blank period.
No.
How
many pregnancy centers does the pro-life movement operate?
What's so funny about that is she messed up and they all cheered her making a pro-life point. She literally made a pro-life point and they all cheered, and she forgot that she's pro-abortion.
Wow. I don't know. I don't give a fuck.
More than 2,500. How many maternity homes does the pro-life movement operate?
How many kids are in the foster care system?
More than
How many kids are
400.
still being ruined by bad parents?
Incredible.
By the fact that a Republican Party cannot consistently take care of them? How many of these kids are consistently still not being taken care of? Yes, you mean to tell me? Yes, you mean to tell me that I should continue?
Give me back my mic.
Yes, you mean to tell me that I should continuously keep on?
You are a eugenicist, ma'am, against your own race, and that is horrific. You are a eugenicist. You are a eugenicist, and that is horrific to hear you say that.
And what's crazy is, I don't think she ever has plans on having a kid anyway, so she really doesn't care about the issue. But she wants other black women to listen to that nonsense about it's too populated. You don't have money. Why would you have a kid? Come on. What are you doing? Just get rid of it. No talk about responsibility. No talk about the stories that I brought up earlier, or people who come from nothing and become, extremely successful across the board. Every profession, every industry that could have been aborted, that they weren't. No, she doesn't care about any of that. All she cares about is overpopulation. She was fed this. She was fed this. And I agree with that also, but she was right. She was right. That chick said that the black community is too overpopulated, and that's why Planned Parenthood helps. I typically hate listening to a white woman lecture a black woman, or a white man lecture a black man on our issues. But when they're right, they're right. I absolutely hate that as well. But she was right. And this black woman is telling other black women, because she's clearly never going to have a man, and she's clearly never going to have a child. If she does, she's going to go back to the other issue I was talking about earlier of insemination. I'm sure she's all for that. Not understanding the conflicting points of view that she has.
Trans in school, the Supreme Court is hearing about the case in Maryland about a couple of religious people. It's really a religious-based case. They do not want trans books that teach kids that some people are trans in the schools. And here's Justice Amy Coney Barrett. She's quoting from one of the books. When we're born, people make a guess about our gender and label us boy or a girl based on our body parts. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. No, I think that's bullshit, okay? No, they're almost always right. If you have a dick, you're almost always a boy. I think it's okay to teach kids, there's a default setting for humans, and if you're not part of that default setting, it doesn't make you a worse person. These things happen. I mean, it's on the right. They don't even believe that trans is a thing. It is a thing.
That's not true.
But it's not a thing that happens.
People on the right don't say it's not a thing. They just say it's a condition. So they always try to do this weird thing where they say the people on the right want to deny the existence of transgenderism. That's not what it is. And that's sophistry. That's intentional deception, especially from somebody as smart as this guy. Bill Maher is very smart.
Like this, where, well, we don't know, jump ball, every baby is such a thing. And even Elena Kagan, one of the most liberal judges, said, I suspect there are a lot of non-religious parents who also weren't all that thrilled about this. This is the kind of issue, it's one of those 80-20 issues that the Democrats have been on the wrong side of.
If I walked past a black woman and went, you'd probably think that I was a bit racist. So, why is it acceptable for the opposite to happen? People in marginalised communities, how can you look at another marginalised community and just think, it doesn't make sense? It's not fair.
maybe they're looking at you, not the community, you. If the black woman looked like you, I'm pretty sure they would still go, maybe it's you. It's funny how a narcissist can be a narcissist in every way and still be unaware of why people are doing what they're doing to them. So he as a narcissist, it's really interesting hearing him say, you guys are looking at us like this. No, they're looking at you, Mr. Narcissist. Why are you trying to now all of a sudden be general and talk about the public and the whole class of people, as you called it? They're looking at you like that. That's all. Pretty simple.
It's rooted in misogyny that way too, and especially rooted in harming black people, because if you really look at it, there are lots of cis black women that don't adhere to what it means to be woman.
Cis black women.
That's a whole thing that I have spent years learning about from the black.
Listen to what she just said. Sorry, I was talking over it. Let me get past that.
That way too, and especially rooted in harming black people, because if you really look at it, there are lots of cis black women that don't adhere to what it means to be woman, and that's a whole thing that I have.
Has any black woman heard of that before? Black women who don't adhere to being women? Cis. So what they call cis is straight, normal. That's normal. They should just say normal. What they're saying that normal black women, and she's not normal or black. She's saying that normal black women don't adhere to what it means to be a woman either. Really? I've never heard this before. Let's see.
That way too, and especially rooted in harming black people, because if you really look at it, there are lots of cis black women that don't adhere to what it means to be woman, and that's a whole thing that I have spent years learning about from the black community, and I really suggest that you look into intersectional feminism and intersectional womanhood related politics.
She spent years studying black women and this phenomenon that she just said. You're not cis? I've never heard of a black woman who didn't mind being called cis. So if you're willing to call yourself a woman, there's a very good chance that you don't agree with any of this stuff because you're bold enough to declare that you're a woman. This is it. She spent years studying how cis black women don't adhere to being women. This is absolutely insane. She said she spoke to so many black women. I guarantee they're not outside of her community. She's just calling them cis, probably because they look like women. This is absolutely exactly. Cis is different. Exactly. These people, so it's about to start getting really weird. Just, I already warned you, as if it wasn't weird enough, it's going to get even more weird because I want you guys to see what they want from you and your kids, for your kids. This is what they want. It's getting worse. Trust me, it's going to get worse.
If you really want to
dive
really deep in that. But so there's the whole the whole bioessentialism, and this what it means to be woman is always a very misogynistic narrative when you try and put it in a box.
How do you know what's misogynist if you can't define what a woman is? Because misogyny means a disdain toward or against women. How do you spell misogyny? Oh boy. Misogyny. I don't know how to spell that. Nope. Misogyny. Anybody know how to spell misogyny? I've never spelt that word before. There it is. Misogny. That's why I couldn't find it. What misogyny actually means Yeah, you definitely don't want to share this live. You should have seen what happened to me earlier. There was some kind of, I don't know what happened. My screen went black. Misogyny. Can I blow this up? Let's see. No. 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 Okay. Misogyny is the dislike of, or contempt for, an ingrained prejudice against women. If you can't say what a woman is, let me ask you how you can say that it exists. How do you have a dislike for something you don't know what it is? That doesn't make sense, lady, guy, hey.
Just that we focus all of our hate as a society about trans people on trans women. Why is that? It's because it's the trans misogyny of it all. It's because you don't
trans
misogyny. You're not unpacking your misogyny. You're not unpacking the patriarchal oppression. Because trans women were always women. They just were assigned the wrong letter at birth, and we conflate sex and gender for no real reason.
No real reason.
And
other than science. For no real reason. Yeah, Ketanji Jackson, she wouldn't define it. They're scared to say what it is. Because you're by defining what a woman is, you are, this is what they think. You are speaking transgenderism out of existence. Because how do you define that you're something else that has a full definition? You are default getting rid of their ability to claim that. It's what it is.
And because of the fact that we know that men are, like, cis men can be predators, and that the patriarchy emboldens them to do that, that these transphobic people will then port that onto trans women, who are generally far more harmed by the system. There's a lot of other ways it's, like, rooted in misogyny. And then it's like, what do you mean by I thought we were all about women's rights? But what are women's rights? Because I am not a woman. I have to be politically a woman because people won't want me part of their rights. Because despite the fact I have a uterus, I have had an abortion, I have breasts, I could get breast cancer, all of the stuff that is, like, women's issues, I am not one. And they don't want me.
You see how she's breaking down? Like she's showing her mental issues right here. She's getting emotional. Talking about her own self, she's getting emotional. Look what happens as she starts describing herself. She doesn't like herself, clearly.
And gender for no real reason. And
she's about to get emotional.
Because of the fact that we know that men are, like, cis men can be predators, and that the patriarchy emboldens them to do that.
So I could tell you right here, some guy did something to her. Watch her fall apart. Men can be predators. Right there, she got choked up. Watch her emotions swing. Now that she just brought up her actual trauma and what's really going on with her.
That these transphobic people will then port that onto trans women, who are generally far more harmed by the system. There's a lot of other ways it's, like, rooted in misogyny. And then it's like, what do you mean by I thought we were all about women's rights? But what are women's rights? Because I am not a woman.
No.
I have to be politically a woman because people won't want me part of their rights. Because despite the fact I have a uterus, I have had an abortion, I have breasts, I could get breast cancer, all of the stuff that is, like, women's issues, I am not one. And
she just got emotional. She just admitted she gave away a baby. No, she unalived the baby. And she feels that. She definitely feels that. She's emotional over it. But she's denying it.
I am not a woman. I have to be politically a woman because people won't want me part of their rights. Because despite the fact I have a uterus, I have had an abortion, I have breasts, I could get breast cancer, all of the stuff that is, like, women's issues.
She's ready to
I
cry.
am not one. And they don't want me.
They just assume I'm some confused little kid because I'm autistic and I'm non-binary.
Autistic.
That I am mentally unwell and I am mentally unfit to figure it out.
She just showed that she's mentally unwell and mentally unfit to figure it out. She almost broke down talking about just bringing it up. Look at her.
What are women's rights? Because there's no such thing as women's rights.
It's not, you know.
What's so funny is she just spent that whole time talking about misogyny. Then at the end, she offsets it all anyway. There's no such thing as women's rights. This now we're heading in towards the kids now. I'll let you listen to them. It's so insane.
So in Colorado, people who live there understand that that state is under siege by the worst form of degenerates under Jared Polis, the head of the Governors Association of the country. So what are they doing now? His hometown, Boulder, Colorado, is partnering with CU Boulder and the Renee Crown Wellness Clinic. They're at CU Boulder to put on a literal sex camp for kids. These are kids who have just come out of 4th grade. Right? It's kids who are going 5th grade to, I think they said basically 9 years old to 15 years old. They're putting on a summer sex camp. Don't worry, it's free because CU Boulder and the Crown family are going to fund it. What are they going to be talking about? Gosh, they're going to cover sexy talk with your 9-year-olds. They're going to talk about everything that your body does. They're going to talk about the things that you don't learn in school. But the problem with Colorado is you learn everything in school. You learn gay sex in school now. You learn every form of positive affirming sexual contact there is out there in Colorado public schools now, thanks to comprehensive sex education. So I'm not really sure what else they could possibly teach kids.
Well, hold on. Can you read? Yeah, but read that whole line you sent me. It's on the poster. Just read it. I want the audience, particularly the podcast that don't have the video, read that line about what these kids. These are 9-year-olds, kids coming out of 4th grade into 5th for the summer.
Yeah.
This is their summer camp. Go ahead, read it.
And I'm sorry, I had to switch to a different device, so I don't have it exactly in front of my face right now. But essentially what they're saying is they're going to be teaching these children their body. They're going to be teaching them non-binary, LGBTQ, social cues, the bodies of others, and so much more. Oh, excuse me, that's right. How to pleasure themselves in many different ways.
All right, so I'm going to show you guys what that poster says because I pulled it up. I blew it up so you guys can see it. Center it. Sex Ed Summer Camp pre-registration information session form. Oh yeah, I told you. I gave you guys a warning. I tried to give you a trigger warning early. I did it at the beginning of the live. I did it 3 times within the live as I counted. This is the camp that she's talking about. Boulder County Valley Health Center and Renee Crown Wellness Institute are partnering up to offer an engaging, relevant, and expansive sex health education summer series. We can't wait to learn together with all the amazing young humans, because we can't say boys and girls, in Boulder County. Please email our education team, and then they give the disgusting email address for any questions. Cost free. Yay, it's free. Sex Ed Summer Camp is for all incoming 5th to 8th graders. All right. What? Sex Ed Summer Camp is full of all sorts of information regarding sexual health that most students don't get to learn in schools. We will talk about everything related to sex, bodies, sexuality, sexy feelings, media, power, and justice. Some topics might include bodies beyond the binary, feelings and how to navigate them, gender and sexuality, consent and communication, relationships, pleasure in all sorts of ways, self-love, and so much more. This is being geared towards 5th graders. I can't highlight it because it's a picture. This is exactly what Miss Jamie just said it is. This is grooming. This is targeting children. This is disgusting. This is sick. This should be illegal. But parents are signing their kids up to this. So who are we targeting here? Are we targeting these sickos for throwing the event, or the parents who are signing them up for it? Who's worse? I mean, they're all on a tier of hell, but who's lower on the tier? I'm getting annoyed. Sorry. You guys never see me annoyed. I'm getting really annoyed. Where? CU Boulder. When? 5th and 6th graders, Monday through Friday, July 7th through the 18th, from 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Non-stop indoctrination. The 5th and 6th graders all day from 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. are getting this stuff. 7th and 8th graders, Monday through Friday, the 21st through August 1st, from 8:30 in the morning to 3:30 in the afternoon. So you'll be at work. Don't worry. We'll teach them everything. Why? Because all humans, especially young humans, deserve information about their bodies and other people's bodies, and how to communicate that, how to communicate about them in ways that feel fun, affirming, and exciting. This is going on in schools. Every time when Trump was saying this, when he was running, they kept dismissing it. Oh, they're not teaching that stuff. They're just giving them general information. This is a full summer camp, the 7th through the 18th of July. And then right after that, they're going to bring in the other kids. The little older, they're more mature, so we can talk to them separately. We don't want them all together. And we're going to talk about all this BS. These are groomers. Anyone running this should be investigated. They should go through all of their computers. They should go through all of their phones. They should go through their history. I'm not a tyrant by any means, but when you give the inclination that you can do this with kids, to me, you need to be investigated. That's just me. This is so disgusting. 10,000 people like this. 1.2 million people saw this. This is on X. 5,000 people shared it. I'm sure the people who shared it were probably like, do you guys believe this mess? Let's see if we can see. Oh, I can't. I have to post the reply. I was seeing if we could see the comments. It's sick. I guess that's the point of me putting that on there. Let's listen to them finish talking about it.
What is going on in Colorado? And why would the regents at CU Boulder put up with this? Ray Scott is a new regent in Colorado. Why are they allowing this filth? This is called grooming. This is potentially has the ability to turn into sexual assault and sexual misconduct on minors. What's going on in Colorado that they feel so emboldened to put out flyers to the neighborhoods affirming a free sex camp?
I'm studying Latin American women and visual culture. Yeah. Hi, I'm Melanie. I'm studying the unseen body in creative spaces, erasure and exposure of the queer. Yeah.
She's studying. All I heard was queer. Hold on. These are our kids. This is what they're studying in school. This is what they're leaving your home to go study. I don't know what profession they're going into. There's no profession that. Let's listen to these people.
Affirming a free sex camp.
I'm studying Latin American women and visual culture. Yeah. Hi, I'm Melanie. I'm studying the unseen body in creative spaces, erasure and exposure of the queer. Yeah.
Hey, I'm Nina, and I studied the arts, education, and social justice. Yeah.
I'm Joyce. I studied decolonial intimacies, indigenous politics, and resistance.
Yeah. I don't know what any of that does, but I know one thing: they're never going to get a job. Those degrees are completely useless. I can guarantee you that. I guarantee you that.
Affirming a free sex camp.
I'm studying Latin American women and visual culture. Yeah. Hi, I'm Melanie. I'm studying the unseen body in creative spaces, erasure and exposure of the queer. Yeah.
Hey, I'm Nina, and I studied the arts, education, and social justice. Yeah.
I'm Joyce. I studied decolonial intimacies, indigenous politics, and resistance. Yeah.
I knew I was transgender at 2 years old. I knew I wanted to be a boy, but I was born female.
I'm a transgender woman. My pronouns are she, her, and I will only accept those pronouns.
Slim, pick and choose TV. You're walking into a very weird. You're coming in at a bad time. You're coming in at a really bad time. There is a context to what we're watching over here. Everybody who's been in here, imagine coming in during this part of my life. This is not what you think. I'm telling you right now. This is not what you think. Trust me. You're going to have to take my word for it, man. I'm just telling you right now. You got to take my word for it. Everybody in here is not weird. You just came in at a really bad time. Really bad time. But thanks for stopping in, man. I appreciate you stopping in.
Boy, but I was born female.
I'm a transgender woman. My pronouns are she, her, and I will only accept those pronouns.
I'm a little trans girl, small and cute. These are my pigtails, yes, they're real.
I love being a woman. Girlhood, literally one of my favorite things.
I guess dating for me as a trans woman that's an influencer and trans? I know you'd never tell, right?
I could never tell.
Friends, today we're talking about something super cool called pronoun.
When I got my cake pops removed, I specifically asked my surgeon to leave the bag.
This person thought that this was a big transformation, so they filmed it on TikTok. Their surgeries to look more feminine. And look at how proud this person is. Look at it. He's doing the full, you guys can see all the work and you get to see the results in real time. There's another one who did this named Dylan Mulvaney. Look at. Watch how proud he is of the result. Back it out the chat. Look at this. I turned the sound down because it was playing music, but got the little smirk like, yeah. All that, I wonder how much money that cost. I wonder how much money, yeah, exactly, Miss Jamie. How much money would that cost? And you're sitting there thinking something happened. You look exactly the same as you did before they tried to butcher you. Still looks like a man. Still looks the same. There's really no difference. There's no difference. All the money it must have took. And if he's military, I guess we paid for it. So what difference does it make? 35 days later, you look exactly the same, sir. Sorry. I apologize.
Like, I'm a trans man and I'm gay.
So I got served today at the pharmacy.
You're a fake ally, you're a fake liberal, you're a hypocrite, and I feel sorry for your trans friends. I feel sorry for your trans friends.
So the reason I'm showing this is because this is mental. These are mental issues. These people, none of these people are stable. I got sir today. They called you sir because you have a full beard. This is not normal behavior. This is not normal. This other person doesn't, they don't know who they are. They're going through crises. They're having issues. And instead of dealing with this psychologically and taking those meds, they're taking meds, but the meds are to transform into what they think they should be. Not recognizing or being proud of who they are. There's self-esteem. There's whatever. I don't know the diagnosis for gender dysphoria, like what leads them to believe what they are. I don't understand all of that. I don't know any of it. I don't understand all of it. But what I do know is this is not normal behavior. This is not normal. These aren't normal people. They always talk about their suicide rate being the highest of everyone. But what they attribute it to is being bullied, not that they have psychological issues. And they don't address them. They have mental health issues. They have trauma that they refuse to deal with. So what do? They blame bullies. So much easier to do that. But they're all sick. This is not, I'm not bashing them. I actually feel bad. There's something wrong and they refuse to acknowledge it, first of all. Then they want you to acknowledge that there's nothing wrong. And then they want you to acknowledge that it's okay and it's normal. I can't do that. I can't do that.
Like, I'm a trans man and I'm gay.
So I got served today at the pharmacy.
You're a fake ally, you're a fake liberal, you're a hypocrite, and I feel sorry for your trans friends. I feel sorry for your trans friends.
Little one asked me, Mommy, what's a girl? Mommy, what's a boy? What makes somebody a girl? What makes somebody a boy? Baby, I'm a they, them. I have no idea.
How someone identifies, my pronouns aren't preferred, they are mandatory.
You have reached a pronoun checkpoint.
Many people ask me, how do you use they, them pronouns for a singular person?
Okay, I'm about to show some boy pictures. Be normal.
I want to talk to the kids.
You
There
walk
it
in.
is. There it is. And that may have been part of that video that I was talking about earlier, where they all said they're coming for your kids. But that's not normal behavior. It's not. But these are people who want to teach your kids about who they are. You don't know who you are. Stay away from my kids. And it's not even just that. So there's another issue within that community is domestic abuse is higher than everywhere else. You have people who have issues living together, trying to sort out their own issues and dealing with other people's who have issues. But it's scary though when you watch and you talk to some, and I've employed thousands of people in my careers. You can deal with the everyday coaching and training and teaching and all that. And interactions are all normal, but they're still dealing with things internally that they need to deal with that you can't help with. So when there's issues that arise and they're living with another person who has very, very serious issues, like dangerous issues, you're going to have conflict. And when that conflict happens, you have a higher domestic abuse situation than traditional people. Mel said he's got a log. Hey, I mean, I gave everybody a trigger warning. I put in the title, and I've said it throughout this live. This has to be talked about. Why doesn't anyone talk about this? Why can't we just say what it is? So you're gonna make me tell some truths, some people might prefer. Yeah. You don't want to say anything. But this here is ironically, a teacher. You want this person teaching your kids?
Into your new classroom to meet your teacher, and you see me. What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Sick. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. No, there's another word. There's absolutely no way. Forced transgender boy quickly returns to normal after removal from mother's care. So the boy goes to live with his father. Guess what happens? All falls into place. A lot of these things, and you see this in Hollywood, unfortunately, they do it to black kids. It's really weird. Why do all white Hollywood? Not all. A lot of white Hollywood people adopt African kids, black kids. They'll bring them over from like continental Africa, like legit. Like, what are you doing? What is that? There aren't enough kids in the foster system? And then they do this, where they I don't know if I'm gonna go down that route. It could get worse. I don't expect this live to be fully available, but hey, the last one made it. I don't know how, because I don't bite my tongue, as you guys can see. California Democrats block bill to make trafficking of minors a felony. Now, they didn't write the bill. They didn't pass the bill. They blocked the bill. They don't want trafficking of minors to be a felony. That's what this means. That's what this means. And I actually have video on this one because it was that sick.
Democrats today again rejecting another push to make it an automatic felony to purchase or solicit a 16 or 17-year-old for sex.
Not only did Democrats block this latest attempt to ramp up the penalties for the buyers in the child sex trafficking industry, they also sidelined Sacramento's Democratic Assembly member Maggie Krell, who has made this her life's work. Democratic leaders promised to keep the conversation going, but they're leaving Krell, an expert, out of it.
So the woman who came up with the idea, hey, maybe we should make it a felony to try and go after and solicit minors. They say, you got to go. So they block her bill and then they get rid of her and take her out of the conversation. It's her bill. They don't want to end child trafficking. Otherwise, they wouldn't have blocked the bill. There's nothing else in this bill. I looked at it. There's nothing else in here. There's nothing else in here. It's one of the few initiatives that I've seen that didn't have an added, $50 million for Ukraine. And then you say, okay, well, that's really why we didn't pass it. There's no out for these people. They don't want it to be a felony. They don't want it to be a felony. It's sick. It's horrifying because if I still lived in California, there's no way I'd be able to send my kid to school because their schools are crazy. And now there's really no way I'm gonna let my kids outside without me being there. You literally have to watch your kids because they don't even want it to be a felony to pursue children. This is wild.
After an hour of closed-door planning, Democrats emerged with a deal that stripped Sacramento's Democratic Assembly member Maggie Krell from her own bill that tries to crack down on the consumers of the child sex trafficking industry. She originally proposed the automatic felony for the older teens this year, noting state laws are inconsistent for the trafficker and the buyer. But that piece blocked by the Public Safety Committee earlier this week.
You want to stop human trafficking and little girls being put up and down these streets? If you want to really stop that, you arrest tricks. You arrest who demands it. You don't arrest who sells it. Because whoever sells it, they cannot sell it.
Are they businessmen?
Unless the person that buys it.
That's the problem too.
I think so. That's an interesting one. So he's saying arrest the tricks, which is the point of this bill. I don't think there are as many willing 16-year-old girls out there selling themselves. I think there are pimps, and I think those pimps are the human traffickers. And I think they're manipulated or outright forced to do what they're doing. So I don't know what arresting the kids looks like. I think arresting the kids in this type of crime should be very similar to how they do low-level drug dealers, and they try to get the person above them. Because that can ruin a girl's life. It can easily ruin a girl's entire life. Getting arrested at 16 for doing that, I would take her in and try to get her to turn on her pimp. But most of the time they're terrified, or they have issues. They have trauma. They don't trust men or women. They don't trust anybody. And I wouldn't be so quick to put prostitution on girls like that or boys. I would try to figure out who's really doing it. No, yeah. No. I agree with what you're saying. Well, I'm talking about what that person was saying because they were right. But I think you need to deal with the kids also. But he was saying going after the trick. Definitely go after the trick. Definitely try to find the smugglers. But usually, again, it's the smugglers who are the pimps, or gangs, whatever you call it. They're still pimping is what they're doing. I think you need to go after them and not necessarily the teens. So this is one of the rare instances where I would not pursue the person committing the crime on the demand side. I don't know. I don't know. I just think it can ruin a girl's life for doing something that she's forced to do or tricked into doing. And I don't know if that's right. Age of consent 16 in many blue states. So, if I may, they can legally drink. They can't. Yeah. I agree. I agree with that. But yeah, these people, the traffickers, are the ultimate villain. What's really, really weird about the immigration debate is they're literally human trafficking. The number is over 90% of women and girls who cross the border are S8 and R worded, and they still want the left still wants it to happen. That's wild to me. So you're advocating for SA, R wording, and human trafficking in order for these people to get here, and you say they're going to have a great life after they're assaulted and trafficked. It's I don't know. I don't know.
That this debate is going to be ongoing until potentially that felony is put in there, but we'll see.
And we really should point out the urgency with this, that children 16 and 17 years old are being victimized.
This is I think this person ran for House, I believe. So again, going after the tricks is one thing, going after the smugglers, again, also. But this person was part of a trafficking bust. Politician. I don't know what that is by looking at him. I don't know what that is.
If you put prayer at the beginning of this meeting, I don't think that's a welcoming sign to the people who are in this room tonight. How much prayer do you need? How much God do you need? We say under God. We say it. Why do we need to say more? This, to me, is very disturbing. If I tell you I'm offended, I'm offended. I just don't understand why you're comfortable excluding people. Not everyone who is in this room tonight is Christian.
So we've attacked the men. We've attacked women and completely deleted women. We don't want to even say what a woman is. They're attacking the children, and they're attacking faith. And this is nonstop. It's been happening since the 60s. More so towards the Black community, because when you're at the lower rung of society, when it comes to finance, all the problems are magnified. And that's where we're at. So what this woman is saying is, I don't want all this God stuff. We don't need morals. We don't need anything. I'm offended. So you all in a Judeo-Christian civilization need to stop doing what you're doing because I don't like it. Pure narcissism.
And guess what? If you do this, we're going to have legal challenges. And guess what? It goes all the way to the Supreme Court because it's in the Constitution. I don't know why you need prayer to take this job seriously. But don't say this is going to unify when I'm telling you it will not. Why do you need this?
Because of people like you. That's why we need it. That's all I got for today. I think everyone should talk about this. I don't think it should be controversial for me to do lives like this because this is the second one in a row now. I don't know how long I'll be here, but while I'm here, I'm going to keep pushing these topics. I still know how to navigate the language because I have that gift, thank God. But that doesn't mean they're going to allow it to stay up. And if they don't, it's going to be on Rumble. I'll always have the content. And I don't know. I don't understand why more people don't talk about it. I think we all have a responsibility, especially when we're talking about kids. And in the Black community, I think our women need to stop with this empathizing for causes that don't have anything to do with us. Please stop. Please. Please. But this is my Rumble link. So if this disappears and you're watching on YouTube, this is the Rumble link. The lives are going to be there. I'm really genuinely surprised that the last one stayed up, and I'll be really surprised if this one stays up. But I'm gonna keep highlighting, and I am gonna look for that Tasha K clip, Miss Jamie. I appreciate everyone stopping by. Miss Jamie Jules, Phoenix Rising, Catcher Matta Jagger, Mel Dub, Paul, Taryn LeBlack. Thanks for stopping by. G Will, as always. Wait, what's your new name, G Will? Let me find his name. Free J, thank you as always for stopping by. Uncle L, sir, appreciate you. I'm back 14 days. That's G Will's new name. Thank you. I appreciate that, Miss Jamie. Who else was in here? Pick and Choose came in at a bad time. He's probably like, what the hell is this? Let me get out of here. Just say what's up and be gone. Now when he sees me in the chat, he's probably gonna be like, he ain't even want to say hi. He came in when the one dude with the weird purple stripe was on his head. That was hilarious. I think I already said Mel Dub. Who else was in there? Miss Phoenix. Deja Vu, thank you for stopping by. I believe that's everyone. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you all. Kiss My Cheeks. Toby came in also. Thank you. This is a no beef channel. You will never, ever hear me make any references to what goes on and over there. Dan Tana, thank you. Just so you guys know, I talk politics and I talk what I believe to be important things for our country and for our community. I will never engage in that stuff. So just so you guys know, when you come in here, it's not going to be any of that mess. But that don't mean there's not going to be any stuff that I put up. I will always try to warn you guys, trigger warnings. Hey, you're going to get annoyed at this live. And that usually means there's something gross coming. But I believe it has to be a discussion. TP was in here also. Appreciate you for stopping by. I almost said misgendered. That was G Will. But yes, I appreciate all of you guys. Kiss My Cheeks. Thank you so much for stopping by. And I'm going to go out on one of my favorite rap songs by CeeLo Green and wish you all a great day. I don't know who's going live, but I'll see you guys for sure in chats. Thanks, man.
Basically, I'm complicated. I have a hard time taking the easy way. I wouldn't call it schizophrenia, but I'll be at least 2 people today, if that's okay. And I could go on and on and on.
But who cares?
It's deep how you can be so shallow. And I'm afraid cause I have no fear. And I didn't believe in magic until I watched you disappear. I wish you were here. And I could go on and on and on.
But who cares?
You see, everybody is somebody, but nobody wants to be themselves. Ooh, and if I ever wanted to understand me, I have to talk to someone else, cause every little bit helps. And I could go on and on and on.
But who cares?
It feels like a surreal life, but it's still nice. Wish I could live twice, and I still might. If these wounds heal right, I see a little light, even though it's still night. It feels like a surreal life, but it's still nice. Wish I could live twice, and I still might. If these wounds heal right, I see a little light, even though it's still night. And I can